Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go. We are live. Oh, you guys, I am beyond elated to welcome you to the very first episode of Leaders of the West. This podcast has been a long time coming for us, but it really needed to happen in the right moment. And things have really aligned for us as a company and for me to where we could launch this and make it a continued pillar of what we do here at Of the West. We have a lot of exciting things in store and we're going to get to all of that. But because this is the first episode, I want to back it up just a tad and really start at the inception of who we are and why we're here. So I would imagine that most of you probably know me, or maybe you're someone who is familiar with Of the West. But for those of you who may have just found Of the West and you're listening to this podcast from the very first episode to whatever episode is the most recent at the time, I want to take a minute to introduce myself and our company. So my name is Jessie Jarvis, and I am a wife, a mom of two, the founder and current CEO of the West, and I'm also a third-generation rancher. On the ranching side, my husband and I work alongside my parents in our family ranching operation as we transition into the next generation of ownership. We have a cow-calf operation. My parents, they run Black Angus cattle, and then Justin and I focus on Red Angus genetics. So we're still commercial operations, but we run Red Angus cattle. So growing up in Southern Idaho, I have been immersed in ranching and farming. Obviously, Idaho is well known for those famous potatoes, but aside from spuds, our state's agriculture industry is extremely diverse. Idaho is number one in the nation for potatoes, barley, peppermint, alfalfa hay. We're the second largest grower in the nation of sugar beets and hops. We are the third largest producer of cheese and milk, and the fourth largest producer of dry edible peas, onions, spring wheats, and lentils. You guys see what I'm saying when I say that Idaho agriculture is incredibly diverse. So because we are such a loud and proud agriculture state, that is something that I have been raised in and has really fueled my love of agriculture and Western industries. Justin and I, we have a little boy named Jet and a daughter named Jackson. Both are under 5, so they keep us very busy and keep me really busy trying to manage the role of mom alongside ranch owner and entrepreneur. As far as the entrepreneurial side goes, we own a company called Of the West that we launched in 2021. It is a job platform, and it's solely dedicated to connecting job seekers and employers in the agriculture and Western industries. You know, for whatever reason, Justin and I have always been people who others call when they're looking for work or looking for a new employee. And I've always assumed that that is because our backgrounds are fairly diverse. We have strong networks in ranching, in the livestock industry, on the farming side of the industry. I rodeoed until I was in high school, and Justin still continues to compete. So we have a strong network on the Western sports side of things. And then prior to Of the West, I was one of 3 owners in a Western fashion magazine called Western Runway. So I have a strong network in the Western lifestyle sector of the industry too. So people call looking for everything from a cowboy or a farm or ranch employee to a marketing position, to a freelance graphic designer, to a sales rep, and everything in between. And I remember that one week in March of 2020, we got 3 or 4 calls in a single week from people who were looking for new jobs or new employees. And at that point, I thought, holy cow, if we are getting this amount of calls, there has to be a bigger need out there. So I did a quick Google search and I didn't find anything that really encompassed the ag and Western industries in the way that I thought it should. And I knew that there was a huge need for something like Of the West, but I knew it would be a big undertaking. And at the time, with a ranch, other jobs, we had a 2-year-old little boy, I didn't think that we were necessarily in the right place with it. So I sat with the idea for a couple of months And I just couldn't get it out of my head. I knew that this was an issue that needed to be fixed, not only in the present, but in order to see our industries continue to succeed and flourish. If we want to continue to feed a growing population, obviously work and employment comes back to being one of the most critical issues that our industry faces. So that was really the spark for creating Of the West. And as somebody who has been on all sides of the spectrum, as a job seeker, a business owner, somebody in a business helping to hire a coworker, somebody who has hired our own employees, someone who was looking for various service providers as a freelancer, I've always recognized the obstacles that one must really navigate when it comes to job hunting or looking to hire for employment or project purposes in our industries. If you are an employer, hiring is stressful. I don't ever actually think that I've heard somebody say, I'm hiring a new employee and I am just so excited about it. You're bringing on somebody new into your business, right? You're investing time and money into training them, and you pray that they are the dream employee that you were hoping for. Sometimes they are, but it seems like more often than not, they aren't necessarily the great fit. And then you are back at square one. And you're investing more time and more money, and nothing feels more defeating than when it feels like you're losing money or you're losing your sanity or both. And then you add in the fact that not just anyone is a good fit to work in agriculture or a Western industry, right? Many of us know that it takes a special type of person to work in our industries. Industry experience isn't necessarily a requirement, and I will be the first to say that. But if you don't have industry experience, a deep appreciation for our way of life and a desire to pass our lifestyle down on to the next generation is a non-negotiable, right? The days are really, really long, and the pay can be limited because we are an industry who's buying our inputs at retail and selling our commodities at wholesale. And not everyone is cut out to live life in the middle of rural America, even though I, for one, cannot imagine living anywhere else. You really have to be somebody who doesn't shy away from hard work. And if you don't know the answer, you're willing to go figure it out for yourself. Or if things don't go as planned, you can really reassess and reassemble and continue to move forward. And I think that we all recognize the fact that those type of people are harder and harder to find. They do exist out there. There's no doubt about that. And that's why we exist, to kind of bring those people to the surface so that they are easier to find. And on the flip side of all of that, as far as the things that may not be so attractive when it comes to working at our industry, we are industries who value time with our families, and we value our faith and our relationships, and we mean exactly what we say. We want to underpromise and overdeliver, and our industries really truly are what's good about America. And job seekers who want to work in agriculture or a Western industry know exactly what I'm talking about. We want to work for people who appreciate the land and know how to sustainably harness its power and its potential so that we can feed and clothe the world. We want to work in industries that honor and celebrate the Western way of life and the heritage of our nation, because without us, the world doesn't eat. The world doesn't ride. We want to work for people who know that family and faith is an important part of our individual fabric. And we want to work for people whose intentions are pure. And they say that 2% of America's population is involved in agriculture. And I can tell you from experience that when you're looking for a job in our industry, those positions are mixed in with everyone else who is hiring. And it feels like it's less than 0.2% of the jobs out there are actually in our industries, right? But the reality is there are more than 22 million jobs in American agriculture. And that's a USDA statistic. So that doesn't even begin to include any kind of equine job, Western sports job, Western lifestyle jobs. So we're probably bumping closer to 23 or 24 million jobs in our industry. There is so much opportunity out there. And I think the majority of us can attest that it seems to be difficult to get the right fit. So what Of the West does is bring those agriculture and Western jobs into a single place, so they're really easy to find. And by bringing jobs together, we're also bringing those job seekers together so that the right people are seeing the right jobs. We're helping bring a bit more simplicity and efficiency to a process that doesn't need to be so overwhelming for everybody involved. If you're a job seeker and you're wondering how Of the West can help you find the next big opportunity, the site is completely free to use. All you need to do is create a user account and you can begin applying for jobs. You can create job alerts. You can add your resume into our resume database so that employers can find you. It's extremely easy and it takes less than a minute to get started. And then if you're an employer and you're wondering how Of the West can be a fit in your hiring needs, it's also really simple. If you are hiring, you purchase a job listing from our site and we start sharing that job with our various job seeker networks. You can purchase single job listings, which is a great fit for small businesses or family operations. And then we also have job packages with multiple roles, as well as an unlimited job offering that was designed for those mid to large size businesses in our industry. You know, our industries have to continue and they have to grow in order to support a growing population. And we have to continue to adopt new ideas, to really find new ways of thinking so that we can lead the charge, but also still protect and honor where we came from. It's our job in the present to bridge the gap from our past to our future. You know, for that reason, Of the West also produces a lot of free resources that can help our audiences in the job hunting and hiring process, whether you need some insight on how to format your resume, how to make the most of an internship, how to hire your first intern or employee, the type of questions that are illegal to ask in a job interview, ideas for employee appreciation, you name it, chances are we have it. And those resources really are where Of the West's mission and the mission of this podcast come together. In the past, we've hosted free webinars for people to attend where we focus on a few important topics in the industry, whether it's for those who are just out of high school and college, really starting out in the beginning of their careers, or something that's more personal development and leadership driven for those who are more secure in their careers. Those webinars have been a huge success for us. And the guests that we've been able to bring in have been absolutely phenomenal. Everyone who attends is so engaged. For the ending Q&A portion of those, we always develop a list of questions in case everyone is feeling kind of shy and doesn't have any questions to ask. And I can say that we've never had to ask one of those questions because those webinar guests are so engaged and are hanging on to every single word from those guests. We wish that we could have a webinar every week, but the reality is that they're a lot of work for us to produce, and they take away from everybody and their families in the evenings, which is something that we don't want to be doing, right? We know that family time is something that we all cherish. Time away from work is something that we all need to have balance in our lives. And so having those webinars in the evening, it's fine if it's every once in a while, but at the rate that people want to consume more content and more education, it doesn't make sense for us to continue to host those in the evenings. So this podcast is really the answer to how we can provide more value, how we can bring more guests forward and still be respectful of people's time and provide them with far more content than we ever could with solely webinars. We are connectors and we want to continue to connect you, not just with new job opportunities and new potential employees, but with ideas so that we can grow as individuals, so that we can grow as leaders and business owners, so that we can grow as those who are feeding a growing population, and that we can continue to honor a way of life and our nation's heritage because our industries at the end of the day are up against a lot. So let's band together. Let's share our wisdom with one another and let's celebrate the heart of America and what makes it so special. We have some really incredible guests lined up for this podcast. You're going to hear from people who are running the companies that we know and love to the hardworking, salt of the earth people who make up the industry that we love. We are going to bring people from across America representing all of the agriculture and Western industries who are going to inspire you, who are going to be able to relate to the same struggles that you're battling, who are going to give you strategy that you can implement into your own life and your business, those who are going to encourage you to keep going even when it gets hard, and those who are going to remind you why you love this way of life as much as you do. Whether you are a farmer, a rancher, an equine lover, somebody who has headed up the leadership ladder, an ag business owner, a Western sports athlete, an entrepreneur, someone who just loves the Western way of life, this is the place for you. And in addition to bringing on guests, you'll also see quite a few solo episodes like this one from me. I know that so many of you guys are in the same boat as I am when it comes to being a spouse and a parent and somebody who is involved in your operation and someone who owns a small business. And I really want to dig into that journey and share my experiences in those areas because sometimes all we need is 5 or 10 minutes of relating to someone else to help us get through our days. And I want to provide you with a place where I and this can be that for you. I know that so many of you guys are building businesses, and I want to give you the ins and outs of what I've learned in building Of the West to help kind of fast track you so that you don't have to make the mistakes that I have made. There's no point for us to reinvent the wheel, if you will. I want people to learn from the mistakes that I've made so that they're that much further ahead. And when I've found something that has really worked in our business, I want to share that with you so that you can implement it into your own operation if it makes sense. Feedback and input is something that I treat as currency around here. So make sure that you guys tell us what you're hoping to learn and what you guys wish that you had access to, who you are intrigued by, and also those who you know would make great guests. We get by with a whole lot of help from our friends, and we really value your input. So make sure that you guys shoot us a DM on a social channel or send an email to hello@ofthewest.co and tell us what you are thinking. Thank you guys for helping us to really further our mission to foster a community of industry pioneers and innovators and leaders who want to be on the forefront of what is next. Our whole team cannot thank you guys enough for being here today and for listening and for sharing this with your friends. We hope that you are just as excited as we are for what is to come around here. Okay, I have one last thing for you guys, and that is if you are as excited as we are, do us a favor, take a screenshot, show your friends that you're listening to us. Make sure to tag Of the West. You can tag me if you would like, but we would love to see you guys listening to this. We want to feel your excitement. We want to hear your excitement. We want to see your excitement because that is really, really what helps us continue to move the needle. And we are so appreciative of you. So thank you guys for everything. So with that, the very first episode of Leaders of the West is in the books. You will see us back here next week. If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.